Welcome back everybody, and that was Gen.G taking on Team Dynamics. Both teams are on a really hard race for the second round robin. What's your take on the pick and ban? For Gen.G, they were looking for snowballs, and Team Dynamics, they were oriented for the late game potential. Corky, Braum, and Affiliates, they are solely looking for the late game power spike. And Aatrox is not a good pick into the blind pick for Necton. Dynamics, they were trying to hang on to the late game and find their power spike, but Gen.G, they had a very early actions going on in this game. Team Dynamics, maybe they thought that it is not easy to get any points away from Gen.G in the early phase. They were having just one plan, the late game power spike and the scaling, but Gen.G was successfully able to get early actions up against Team Dynamics. With the early Dragon stacks, they were forcing Gen.G to come out for the Dragon Soul fight. But because Gen.G was taking a lot of time to kind of pause there all around the Dragon Pit, the game got a little bit extended. And Dynamics was able to reach a point where they can see their power spike, but Gen.G safely closed out the game. It's really different that having a strong late game pick and having just one plan for the late game is different. So Corky had Super Valkyrie, so he rotated to the top side, so Rascal read his intention and he backed the while. He just hid in that brush, but as he saw Olaf on their control ward, he makes back to the lane, going super safe. It was too obvious that Team Dynamics will be rotating to the Dragon, so Rascal felt safe to come out again. And Team Dynamics, even though they had this priority with this package, they weren't able to pull off any of the proactive performance. This kind of playstyle is not a really good recipe into Gen.G, a team that kind of speed runs all throughout the Rift. Team Dynamics, the only plan they got was just let's hold on, let's hang on to the late game, but Gen.G didn't actually let them do it. Gen.G was controlling all the objectives, the Dragon and Herald, Dragon and back to Herald, but we had a huge fight over here for the soul point. Alista had a really awesome flank angle coming in clutch. Tokdam had no heads up for this potential play from Life. In addition to that, Gen.G players were trusting Alista, and Tokdam was completely zoned out by Life. Three of the Team Dynamics players were trying to protect their affiliates, but Alistar was coming in and diving in onto him so powerfully. And after that, Corky also got cut out with his package. Because they saw Alistar hiding for a flank angle, they weren't really paying too much attention for the remaining of the Gen.G players, failing the allocation of their skills and abilities. It's time to check out the player of the game on the side of Gen.G. It was really hard to vote POG for this game, but Life is the one picking up his first POG of the split, and Alistar, he had a huge contribution all throughout the team fights. Ruler has been popping off on Ash, showing off a really high ability during the laning phase, but we have to also keep in mind that Alistar Life was also his partner throughout the laning phase. Team Dynamics, maybe they didn't know how exactly to play into this Alistar pick, because it has been a while since we last saw him in the LCK. Alista was the first one to engage in those team fights, and then Rascal was the one that re-engaged for the extended fights. It was a really hard one to vote. and find out the POG. So we had casting votes to actually solidify Life's POG point over here. Gen.G picked up a win in game number 1, and it's time to check out the results for game number 2.
Thank you, G-Sun, as always, for the wonderful translation there, coming in clutch. As we have Brian here on the desk, who did translate earlier. And Life was able to pick it up, so you were actually the swinger this time around. Your vote did contribute to him actually being able to pick up the win in the player of the game. So already making waves is Brian on his first day of casting.
Yep. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Let's see whether I can keep up my streak on nailing POGs after POGs.
I would say that it's pretty likely. You seem to be, you seem to have a good idea of who deserves it. I think I would have done the same and picked Life. We have a lot of great support players here, and Life is definitely one that doesn't get highlighted all too often.
Once again, Zoe banned by Dynamics. They really don't want to face Zoe, as well as Ashe as well.
No Volibear.
Yep, I mean, it's red side for Gen.G, so they really want to negate that V1 volley coming in from Dynamics. There's reasonable ban, as well as Karma. So basically, Dynamics going for identical bans in the first phase of the ban. Karma, I mean, it's a very versatile pick, and I think it's a great option for B1 to utilize it, but it seems like Dynamics has a different approach in this series. Rather, they go for a set.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting, as you're mentioning. I mean, one of the best. It's weird to ban one of the best first picks in the game on blue side. It gives Gen.G kind of an extra ban. They ban away Olaf, which is definitely interesting. It did about 0 in game number 1, but they're still going to respect Neon's Olaf there. As Kalista, seems like Ruler is really enjoying this pick nowadays, alongside Lee Sin.
Yeah, so they basically ban Volley and Olaf to remove any sort of leverage-heavy champions in the jungle, and then they offer Lee Sin on their own, which can exert a lot of leverage in the early game if played properly. Let's see how Dynamics will respond to that Lee Sin pick. They're gonna pick Aphelios, going for another potential 200 years.
They might have some better opportunities this time around up against Kalista Lee Sin, but again, it depends on how it goes in the early game. Trundle just got nerfed a little bit, but maybe he's gonna switch to like a Karthus? No. He had a big smile on his face, and I was like, is he really gonna pick Trundle with that big of a smile? But he wasn't doing anything cheeky. Not this time around. By the way, TF got all the way through the draft. I don't really know how that happened. I almost feel like Team Dynamics should have just picked it up on their side, but I'm just gonna let it fall all the way through. Obviously, there was still like a 0 left available if BDD wanted to hop back onto that pick, but no, we're just gonna go with tier list here and go for TF.
And I won't be surprised if they also ban out Azir from here, because both LeBlanc and Azir can be menaces to TF in laning phase. So if you want to really bolster TF's ability to make plays in other sides of the rift, then maybe getting rid of that Azir is also a viable option for Gen.G.
Yeah, let's see what they do. LeBlanc is going to come in here. And just waiting on one more. They're going to take away the Galio. It's a very common pick into the TF just to follow him around the map. But we can see how it can kind of hold your team into picking a certain composition that isn't always necessarily good, just like we saw out of DRX earlier today in game number 1.
So basically, the last 2 bans indicate that they don't want to have any sort of issues in the laning phase by LeBlanc. And also, LeBlanc is also very swift, so she can tag along with TF to join the fray as well. Same with Galio. So basically, they want to just outpace Dynamics to make plays. It seems like they were slightly hovering around Pantheon. I thought that they were going to go for those global ult plays using TF and Pantheon, but nope, they offer Leona. Basically, Leona serves similar purposes to Alistar last game. So basically, Kalista Leona will also be a very potent engage comp here.
Yeah.
Along with Lee and TF. See how Dynamics respond.
Yeah, I mean, he was calling for it too. He was like, wait, and then he thought for like 10 seconds, and he spammed Leona with his mouth. That's a weird way to say it. He said Leona over and over and over, called for it. And we're going to have Sylas coming out here. That's another common pick into the TF, just because you can steal Destiny Gate and follow him around the map and try to take away from one of those powerful parts of the TF.
Alright, so it seems like it's most likely going to be set support, which Cougar is 1 and 2 thus far in this season, as the cannon gets locked in. So Sylas versus TF. Showmaker mentioned in one of his post-game interviews that it's a skill matchup. So let's see whether Kuzan can hold his ground against TF this time. Because if Sylas fails to do so, then there will be no way to inhibit TF's roaming potential once Sylas falls off. And Camille comes in as the counter pick at the top lane.
Yeah.
Seems like this draft looks very analogous to some of the drafts that Gen.G or even Damwon have done in their some of their previous series.
Yeah, it is very similar. I mean, the final pick on red side is used to actually counterpick rather than just picking Renekton for no reason, which we have seen other teams do. Not going to name any names. And yeah, I really like the Camille. I mean, Camille in general has become a lot more flexible in terms of the different builds you can go, and also just because she's great as a counterpick, and she's getting more and more play, which is really good to see. You can really lock down the little Yordle that is Kennen, especially later on in the game, and try to take away from some of his team fighting potential.
Yeah, the concept from Gen.G's team comp is basically analogous to that of DRX earlier today. So basically, TF and Lee will be helping out Camille and covering for her a lot, so she is able to nurture herself without much adversities. And when that time comes for Camille to shine, she will potentially deliver. And I mean, Rascal has been playing exceptionally well this split thus far, so I don't think there will be much doubt amongst people and even from the teammates and coaching staff of Gen.G that Rascal can deliver what he can. So
Yeah.
let's see whether Camille can sustain the early game through the assistance of Lee Sin and TF, and see how Camille can just wreak havoc in that side lane later on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, the one that you make about Rascal. That's another player that I think very often gets overlooked. I mean, and for a good reason. I think that, especially last year and even spring, he was kind of just like a little bit of a passenger, right? We talk about buses here a lot here in the LCK.
The comfy bus rides.
Yeah, you just sit back, relax. You know, you get that premium bus seat, and you're feeling pretty good. And Rascal had that for a while, but I feel like he really has improved quite a lot, and he is just so consistent and reliable. And I feel like that's just a great quality to have, especially for a top laner. You don't want to just lose randomly in some matchups and have your team have to dig themselves out of the hole that you dug for them. And Rascal doesn't do that anymore, and he's actually winning a lot of lanes as well at the same time. So just add another player to the list of players on Gen.G that sometimes just go unmentioned when we talk about some of the best here in LCK.
Yeah, basically he's a multi-talent. He could act as a passenger, but these in the summer season he seemed like he's more of a mechanic.
Yeah.
Solidifying that bumper from the bus ride in front of the bus. Not to opt for a crash or a collision.
Yeah.
So basically, he's been playing that role a lot, but he definitely has the potential to be the driver himself as well. So we'll see how this pans out. I think the most important lane will be mid lane again. Can Silas overcome TF and then suppress TF's ability to roam? If Silas fails to do so, then considering the pilot of TF is BDD, they will be making plays for sure.
Yeah. Well, Beyond rather is going to come up here. He goes blue, or rather red-blue, as that's not going to work on the hook shot. It's not
says,
Yeah. Not quite able to deny him there. And trying to win for, kind of a janky route to get up there. You can see that Lee Sin's going for a full clear, but the Trundle did go red-blue Gromp top. And look at Clid. He immediately recognized that. He hits tab. He's like, oh, you've only got 12 CS. Let me take your Raptors. But now we're having a play onto BDD, who does have to flash the pillar. In goes Clid, actually to get a little bit of trade damage onto Kuzan when he is in mid-Raptors.
Well, I mean, still sign of positivity coming from Team Dynamics. They're able to push out TF, but now they're trying to make play at the bot lane.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always going to be nice, trade your flash for the AD carry, especially when he's struggling in the lane. You're able to deny him some of the CS at the same time. And once again, it's just domination down on the bottom side. This is what we've come to expect. They're undefeated on these two champions, our ruler and life, as is BDD on the TF.
I mean, it's only going to get more difficult for Dynamics bot lane because Trundle, rather than taking care of the bot lane first, he went for the top lane gank initially. So
Rascal, I think he had that second part of the Q there. And thankfully the stun did come in at exactly the right time to deny him any plays. The lane is pushing into Rascal, so that's going to force Rich to immediately TP up top.
Yeah, to compensate for that XP differential, and I mean, Rich survived that mutilation coming from Camille, but
Duck Dom. He doesn't have his flash, and the exhaust comes out, but it just doesn't matter. And now look at this, Cougar's all alone, and he's not gonna have anything. Double kill to Ruler, and just like that, the bottom lane is opened wide open.
Yep, it is completely busted open, and
I
have no clue how Dynamics is able to change the landscape of that bot lane at all, because if you let them play 2v2, they already fall behind. You give Ruler a double kill from the get-go, well, that's nothing but signs for disaster and catastrophe, right? So, aye right there.
Yeah, at first I thought you said science. I'm like, well,
no, science.
It is a bit of science as well. They put they mix 1 part Ruler with 1 part life and add in, a half part of BDD, and then all of a sudden,
I mean,
get a
it is. I mean, it is starting to become a science, because Ruler and Life both have been dominating the laning phase in the past few series. But at the same time, there's another science. Dokdam and Google just getting constantly hammered onto them. Like that's another part of the science right there.
Yeah.
Once again here, just clean engagement from Leona, and there was literally nothing that Dokdam could have done because of their lack of flash.
Yeah.
안 당겨온다.
So
앞을
they
볼게.
don't see him.
I'm gonna engage.
오케이, 앞에.
Fail.
앞에 내고.
Helios.
q 3초. 스턴 내다, 스턴 내. 스턴 내고. 나무.
got stun.
나 빼다.
Oh, back off.
나이스.
All right, good job, guys. Nice.
Nice. Why didn't he say Basa Joa? I like the bus.
You mean like the bus ride?
Yeah, that's
Well, I mean, it's far from over yet, the game is far from over. I mean, yes, Ruler started off with the double kill.
Okay, nice blue card, BDD. What's that all about?
Try to inflict as much damage as possible.
Oh,
and then,
stealing the Hextech ultimatum. I love it. Out of Kuzan. He TP's up there, so he doesn't take the Destiny Gate. Not able to steal that one, but he steals the Hextech ultimatum and denies BDD any chance of escape.
Yeah, great awareness and decision making by Kuzan. Like, I can join the fray promptly using the TP, and then I can just isolate TF using Camille's Hextech ultimatum, and that was the great decision making process coming from Kuzan. And yeah, a big misplay coming from BDD, trying to just inflict as much damage as possible using that blue card. But
yeah.
ay.
Yes. Well said. It's just about how we feel. I mean, Gen.G, they're still in the lead because of their bottom lane. It's just total domination. 21 CS ahead. They're going to use that priority to get the first straight here at the same time. Mid, of course, was a little bit of a disaster, the gank was, but it's still relatively even in terms of the farm. It's not going to be the biggest deal in the world.
So TF ults towards top, and showers the cannon with the blue card. And Silas immediately TPs in, and then immediately hijacks Camille's ult, and then just engages onto TF.
Got more action here. Hextech ultimatum, this time the real one coming out of Rascal. That's going to be a good isolation onto the mid laner, or not the mid laner, the jungler, as the mid laner was trying to get there, but he was a little bit late. And that's going to mean that Gen.G and their proactivity here, they will be able to pick up yet another objective.
Yeah, and just once again, having an ample vision around that area of the map allowed Gen.G to make such plays. And now, as the accolade of that skirmish, Gen.G is going to acquire the Eye of the Herald as well. So it's only going to get worse for Dynamics from here on. And I mean, they try to live up to their names and try to be as dynamic as possible, but this bot lane is not even close to being dynamic.
Yeah.
You can rather call them the static duo. Which means it's a complete mismatch for their team.
Clearly. They don't quite fit in. And you can see here Beyond is well, I'm not really sure. Okay, they're trying to dive here. And
on this time,
they have the damage to take out Rascal. Yes, they do, but in goes Clid. Not going to be denied by the pillar. He's looking for more on a Kuzan, but it's not going to happen. And now Kuzan, all of a sudden, that is a couple of great plays in a row now. He's up to 2-0-1 after the play up in the top side.
Yeah, great play from Kuzan. This time he hijacked TF's ult, and then immediately teleports to the top lane and converges onto Camille. Although they had to sacrifice Rich, but they got 2 kills in the end, so a small victory for them. Here we can see that while clearing the vision out for Beyond, Rascal immediately engages with his ult.
Hextech Flash is such a good route, by the way.
Exactly.
It's so good.
Leona just coming from the backside, leaving no room to maneuver for the Trundle.
Yeah.
And here, once again, immediate convergence coming from the Silas, as well as Kennen and Trundle. But Kennen paid with his life. But in the end, I'll take a 2-to-1 trade any day, any night.
We saw, speaking of trades, it looks like there was a flash for nothing? For maybe the exhaust, I guess, from Guger. As Ruler did have to flash in the bottom side. We didn't actually see that. But here we go. Yet another play. We're diving again. And, well, never mind. I guess we're going on to Kuzan here. Look at Rascal. He's all alone. And Gen.G are getting a little bit messy with some of the plays.
And this is also very crucial because TF just burned his ultimate in vain. He literally got anything done. So this is definitely a big win for Dynamics.
Are they actually trying to keep this going? Oh, yes, they are with Guger coming in. They might just be able to, and the stun comes down, and now Clid is going to be ulted into that back line. Not quite enough, though, to take him down. Now Ruler is trying to chase. See what he can get done. He's going to force that flash, and here's the yellow card straight into Rich, who immediately cleanses it. Had that available with his unsealed spellbook. So he's going to be able to get away, but so much action here in the early game of this one.
You know, while this was all going on, Aphelios was farming placidly in the bot lane. And yet he's still 25 CS, 24 CS down.
Yeah.
My bad, guys. Gotta do better at Earth Medics, I guess.
Well, we usually have trouble with that, so you fit right in.
I try to pretend one of you guys, to be
Yeah.
one of you guys.
Yeah.
To have issues with Earth Medics.
You're trying to help us out, but take another look here at the failed quote-unquote dive.
Yeah, so TF gets spotted by Silas, so he can't TP towards top, and Rascal just completely overextended. This was just a bad play call from Gen.G. And here, BDD tries to make the play on Silas, but Silas immediately flashes away from the harm's way. And then Silas somehow catches Life, just trying to recall. And then it seemed like the fight was getting extended further and further until 4 members of Dynamics are present, and then they get a kill onto the Leona. But they weren't able to convert into any further kills.
That was an awesome use of Lee Sin's kit to get out of danger by Clid.
And great use of Unsealed Spellbook by Rich as well.
Yep.
So there were no casualties coming out from Dynamics' end. But despite all that, like, Aphelios just fell completely behind from the start. So even if Aphelios wasn't there and Kalista actually joined the fray at the very end of that team fight, like, Aphelios wasn't able to capitalize on the absence of both Kalista and Leona in the lane. So yes, Dynamics is ahead in terms of the kill score, and the goal difference is only like 1,700. Like, it just doesn't seem that optimistic for Dynamics at this point.
This is a bit awkward. Rich is in a really weird spot. He's going to get ulted.
There.
He's going to get ulted before he can actually get over. There's the ultimate coming out, and, well, Ruler's just going to pull the sticks out of him. He was trying to set up onto a Camille, but I think based on her positioning, he should have known.
Well, he just duped himself.
Yeah.
That's what happened. He was trying to dupe the champions of Gen.G, but in reality, he duped himself.
It's very static play, Brian, if I say so myself.
Oh, yeah.
It's part
Static
of
indeed.
Team Static.
What have I done?
What have you done? I don't know. There is just so much movement right now on this map from both sides.
Yeah, and once again, this is because Gen.G's full control of vision on the top side of the rift right now, so they can just intrude however they want.
뭐야? 야 여기 있다.
Rascal, oh hey, he's here. So they immediately was aware.
Beyond is dead. All of a sudden, they're trying to get Cougar here too. At the same time, he's going to take BDD and roll with it. As, yes, the root's going to come down, but now Duckdom, he actually flashed to get out of that one, and Cougar's just going to eat the CC in the front. As they were focusing on him, not on Duckdom, and, well, just more sadness for the Team Dynamics bottom lane as they get caught in the top lane.
And also, you can see that the duo is completely discombobulated with their play calls as well. You see Duckdom try to disengage using the flash, but Set tried to crowd control the members of Gen.G with his Facebreaker and try to potentially make plays using the assistance of the tower and Aphelios, but Aphelios just completely abandoned him and said, "See you later."
Yeah. I mean, he even flashed himself. Like, it was kind of an embarrassing show, if I can be totally honest. And now they're trying to make moves down here. Our Team Dynamics are trying to, you know, potentially dive, but they're going to back away. They know that TF has teleport. Rich says, okay, you got me. We're not actually going to go for it.
여기 있다.
Right, here he is.
뭐야? 야 여기 있다.
Hey, here he is.
Yeah, he was confused.
Kaisha. Oh god. Alright, here's the part where they pick off Beyond. Immediately insect kicks Beyond. And then TF comes in. It's on to Guger. Guger uses the showstopper to escape at first, but this is exactly what I was talking about. Guger tried to make a play using the assistance from tier 2 turret and his facebreaker, but Dokkan was like, adios!
Yeah, see ya!
Yeah, and before Guger was able to use the W for extra sustainability, he just got completely shut down and turned into a gray screen.
Yeah. Well, we did have a lot of action. Now we're kind of slowing down. Gen.G in the background are just slowly taking Drake after Drake. You know, there have been some hiccups along the way with how aggressive they're trying to be. I think that's kind of granted. And if you take a look at the 80 carry gold difference, I mean, it's over 3,500 gold, okay? It's just insanity.
It's like another Infinity Edge right there.
Yeah, well, Luger's dead. And that's going to be the first one. Will there be any more?
Which is extremely disappointing for Team Dynamics, because when we looked at the gold graph, we were able to see Rish being slightly ahead of Camille. Trundle like slightly below Lee Sin, like about 500. I don't think that's like too critical. But you have to keep in mind that Silas and TF were essentially even in gold. And considering TF's passive that allows him to earn extra gold, this indicates that Silas has been doing extremely well throughout this game. And Dynamics really could have had the tempo onto their favor. But the bot lane is just so discombobulated to a point where it just can't really...
What is going on right now? I don't even know like what I'm watching. Life's just gonna die and Ruler has to flash. That's not what you're looking for, guys.
And Rich is about to die as well.
He's gonna get flashed on. Triumph is gonna come in, and he's gonna have to flash someone. Kuzani's still fast though, and you should know that this Silas is not gonna give up.
Well, I think the time has come to...
There, okay.
Well, Cougar.
Yeah,
and
we're trying to get in here.
Can they finally make a play?
Oh, is this the time to flash Cougar? What a play! He's able to catch both of them, and that will make that dive extremely easy. Nobody's going to be in danger, and Team Dynamics will strike back.
And it was extremely brilliant for Silas to get that shutdown goal onto Lee Sin. But do you know what just happened?
What?
Dokkan didn't get a single kill.
Yeah.
Ay.
Feels bad, man.
Set just said, enough of this bull jive. You abandoned me last time in the top lane, right? So there's no such thing for kill score to you.
Yeah, it's all mine.
Yep. So here, Ruler gets pillar, and then re-engages, hopping around, and then sends Life into the frontier line, and then allow him to just die.
Yeah. Does Ruler have both cleanse and QSS, or was I not seeing that correctly? We'll check after this, as Rich totally baited.
Yep. A great play from Rascal and Clit. Then Rish try to somehow survive, but the last-ditch effort for Kennen was in vain. And Silas on the pursuit to catch both Camille and Lee, and Cougar set, and Dokkan's Helios arrived just on time. And this time, Cougar gets the brilliant face breaker onto both champions.
Yeah.
Allows Kuzan and himself to take the kills.
Yeah, it's a great play, and they need more like that in order to try to come back in this game. They're going up against Camille TF, which we didn't talk about too much, but it's a excellent split pushing combo that we have seen many times before here in the LCK, because TF can kind of just be anywhere. He's got TP and he has his ultimate, and Camille also with TP, a very excellent split pusher of her own accord. And they can always group up, or they can do 1-3-1. They have a lot of options when you do have these two combos.
Sorry, especially once she has Trinity Force along with Tiamat, the split pushing potency grows immensely. So I think from here on, the biggest question for Dynamics is how do you stop Camille and TF from that so-called 1-3-1 method, and at the same time not get slaughtered by Kalista with 4-0-1.
Yeah, and when you're pulling people apart like this, the Kalista is going to be fantastic for taking objectives because Team Dynamics, I think eventually, inevitably, they're going to be pulled out of position. And the second that happens, you can just throw this fed Kalista onto Baron, get it started. You're going to have the jungler with you. And then you can just TP both BDD and Rascal in if you need them to. Or if they don't respond, you can take an inhibitor and back away. Maybe lose one person, you know, or none. So it's a very deadly comp, especially with the Kalista, because you have so much objective-taking power. Now, they're on Infernal Soul points, and you can see that Team Dynamics, they're already trying to clear out some vision. They're already trying to get on over there and attempt to stop this from going down, but it's not going to be an easy feat from here.
Well, they really need to acquire as much vision as possible near that, both near the Dragon Pit and also the Nasher Pit as well, because Gen.G has all the leverage that they can play with. They can bait Dynamics towards the Dragon, and they can rotate to Baron due to the mobilities of Camille and Tia. And also, although the wave is starting to push out for Dynamics, but they have been shoved in for a while thanks to Camille and Tia's split pushing potential. So we'll see how Dynamics can manage the waves from the sidelines and also prevent Gen.G from getting the Infernal Soul or the Nasher buff.
Gen.G are not responding to this. Finally, the TF ultimate is going to come out, but it's a little bit too little. The Trundle pillar is going to come down, and that is the massive solar flare into the back line. But where is the follow-up? Finally, BDD coming in, immediately gets exhausted, but Rascal, oh man, he just put down the set, who does not have many stats. And yes, the Infernal is going to go the way of Team Dynamics, but I think it's going to be a clean ace as Guzan. BDD just going to tank this one up, but Guzan will eventually go down. Nice try. The clean ace comes out. Nobody on the side of Gen.G die, and they're going to make their way towards Baron and pushing the lane.
Yep, and Camille just secured a triple kill, so I don't see how any of Dynamics champions is going to stop her from that split pushing potential. And also, basically, the play call from Gen.G was, we're going to use the Dragon to bait them towards to the pit, and let them have it, because it doesn't really matter. As soon as they're done, we're going to immediately engage and just completely hammer them, which they did, because they got the clean ace. And now, as the accolade, they're going to get the Nasher buff.
Yep.
This is probably the nail in the coffin.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
And, yeah.
Check here. TF immediately spots all the members of Dynamics, and they just concede the Dragon, but great solo player coming in from life. And Tokdam, despite doing some damage, because he wasn't pinned by anyone from Gen.G, but he just lacks firepower at all. And by the time he tried to maneuver and shoot more guns, it was already there had been multiple dead bodies around him, and those dead bodies were all from his allies. And
oh, we have another fight here. It looks like Team Dynamics are going to be caught out once again, but the rest of the team is going to get here before, but it just doesn't matter. We have ultra-fed Kalista and amazingly fed Camille alongside uber-fed TF. So it doesn't really matter what you have in your composition. They are going to win regardless, and now they're just going to try to push down mid and end the game.
Yep, and it's again the subpar performance coming from Dynamics bottom lane just completely cost them this game, because as I mentioned, Silas was able to hold his ground up against TF, as well as Kennen up against Camille as well, but that sheer difference coming from the bot lane just completely allowed Dynamics to be dismantled by Gen.G.
Yeah.
And it starts from Rulus Kalista.
for sure. As it often does. He's going to add to his already insane stats a whole lot more after today. And yeah, just a clean sweep here from Gen.G over Team Dynamics. Again, this is kind of what we were expecting. I even mentioned it at the beginning. I feel like Gen.G are a little bit better at sweeping the weaker teams compared to a team like DRX. And they did prove that here. I think that game number 1, there were some points of how slow they won that perhaps you could look at and say, hey, maybe you guys could improve on that. But they still did at least pick up the clean 2-0. They can be happy with that. They're climbing on up. They're alongside Dom1 at 8-2. Now they're 9-2. And they're always going to be competitive there at the top of the statistics as long as they keep on playing like this.
Yeah, and also Gen.G demonstrated that they can clean up mistakes in a very short period of time, because Game 2 was definitely a demonstration of Gen.G in this split, where they try to be a very high-octane pace in the games that they possessed the lead on. So, and they were able to close it out decisively. So I think definitely they brushed off some of the rusts and mistakes from Game 1 in that regard. And if they can just continue to keep this high-octane pace, then who knows? That number 1 spot may be in danger for DRX, because Tamon and Gen.G just sharpening their blades to get on to DRX.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that was... well, we're going to take a look, actually, before I get into that. I'm going to take a look at the final team fight here as we kind of got a late look. You can see that Rich...
So Rich abruptly uses the ult. So the potency of Kenneth's ultimate just got completely diminished at this point. And this may be the actual timing for Kenneth to get his ultimate off, but he already burnt it. So from there was no way for Dynamics to suppress the champions of Gen.G. And then due to that explosiveness of Gen.G's champions, they just annihilated Team Dynamics and then snatched the dub.
Yeah, snatch that dub. That's what you're all about, Brian. And it's apparently what Gen.G was about here. We're going to take a look at some of the highlights.
And this was the downfall from the get-go by Team Dynamics. Great roam play coming in from DDD as well to secure that kill onto the set.
Oh, you got to vote for player of the game again.
Where's my sheet?
There they are. Caught them. Yeah, the Team Dynamics had some decent parts. You know, I like some of their dives, their plays up at the top side, but it just was a little bit too little, too late. And you can see that the fight back from Gen.G was too much for them to handle.
Yeah, also great awareness coming out from Rascal as well, as we heard in the voice comm. He knew that Kennen was somewhere in that vicinity, although he was kind of slightly flustered the first time around.
Yeah.
That he didn't spot him, but he knew exactly where the whereabouts of Kennen. So it was great awareness coming from Rascal, and also Clit trying to help make plays. And here once again, just well coordinated team play coming in from Gen.G's side. And yes, Dynamics made some great plays here and there, starting off with Silas, but that was just, it wasn't enough. And it seems like this became the repertoire of Team Dynamics. Like, we saw in previous series versus DRX that Rich put up a good fight, but it ended up becoming empty calories. And this game, it was Kuzan who put up a great fight with his Silas, but it ended up being empty calories once again. So,
gotta avoid those empty calories. Those sugary energy bars, don't do it. The sugar's not good for you guys. As is playing well and then losing.
And
that's
then
also not good for you.
Furthermore, just their team fighting mechanics and play calls, there are a lot of disparities amongst all 5 members. So I don't know where the discombobulation is coming from, but they really need to brush off these mistakes in order for them to secure that 5th spot in the playoff contention. But right now, it looks a bit grim
Yeah, and the weird thing is that it's kind of looking grim for all the teams that are looking for the 5th spot. I mean, even Afrika gets clapped by all of the top teams, as we have seen twice in a row now, I think. And I guess they do a little bit better up against the bottom teams, and maybe they'll get the 5th spot because of that. But we'll have to wait and see, as it does come down to Life getting a double player of the game today as his first 2 player of the games.
I think he played brilliantly with both Alistar and Leona. Seems like he's excelling on his performance using these engage-oriented champions. And it will be very interesting to see how he can manage to do so in the future as well. Can he consistently put up these kind of success using champions like Alistar and Leona? Just great solo player use by the Leona.
Yeah. I would love to see him play Bard. He actually hasn't played a single game of Bard just yet. And I feel like, especially his ultimate placement on the Leona, it makes me feel like he would be a good Bard player. And he's certainly a skilled player, even if, because of so many talented members on his team, he sometimes gets overlooked. Life does have that potential. But again, we're going to have to see how he does up against some of the top teams as well here in round 2. They are going up against DRX on Saturday. You guys will definitely want to watch that. But guys, I'm going to hand it over to Ji-sun for the translation of the interview.
Thank you very much, guys. And it's time to have an interview with Life, the solo POG from Gen.G. Congratulations on the win. It's your first POG and you wrapped it up with double POG tonight. How do you feel? I'm happy that I took down Kuzan and Rich, my former teammates. And I was really nervous, but I'm happy that I got this win. After the game, the players did not really look that content. What did the players say after the game ended? We were a bit too greedy, so we were looking for a lot of plays, so we ended up making a lot of misplays, so we wanted to get rid of those mistakes. Unlike Gen.G's characteristic, Game 1 was a little bit extended. Yeah, and we had feedback about it, and we were able to fix it in Game number 2. Especially game number 1, Team Dynamics, they were looking for a late game scaling power. They had a very strong champions in the late game, Quirky and Felius. Quirky, he was really good at man marking me, so he kind of zoned me out away from opening fights. So that's why we kind of took time to open fights. We weren't able to engage a lot, so we had to kind of play around the macros and seize. They had a lot of push power on the side of Team Dynamics. Well, Gen.G, because we had the engage comp, we had the control for team fights. So it's really hard to engage onto opponents when they are trying to run away from us. So we wanted to play around the objectives. It was a little bit too obvious that Team Dynamics were looking for a bad time, a very late game scaling comp. We weren't really paying attention to those kind of a comp. And this time around, you went with a very new kind of a rune choice, Face Rush Alistar. What's the strength of that rune choice? I don't really remember, but someone told me and I tried it in solo queue and I thought this was a really good choice because you can engage and then you can kind of walk away with that Face Rush speed buff. Before you locked in Alistar, you actually hovered Rakan and Leona as well. Why did you ended up locking in Alistar? It has a lot of abilities. I wanted to show that I can do a lot of things on this champion, and I wanted to show that I can play a lot of different champions, and Alistar was one of those. However, you are actually on a 0-4 so far on Alistar, but After the Q buff, was that a huge buff for Alistar? Not really. It is actually really similar or just the same as the old Alistar.
네. 서버 전승이에요. 전승이잖아요.
You were able to
저는
get the first win on Alistar in the coming in the split.
다들을 써서 이겼고 라이프 선수는 이제 레오나를 써서
Earlier today, Korea got a win on Bart, and this time around, you got a win on Leona. This is a very LPL-ish composition, to be honest. Our LCK teams are also trying to go aggressively. I think, yeah, LCK teams are also trying to have more fights, and I believe that some of the LPL picks can be viable in LCK as well. And what's your tip on Leona? Whenever you see a fight angle, you have to just go in. Sometimes you just get a very easy win as long as your opponent walks into the range of Leona.
그게 되게 어려운 거 아닌가요?
Isn't that really hard, to be honest? To actually execute in game?
못 믿은 것 같아요.
아.
Maybe it's because you don't trust your
그래도
teammates.
들어갔다가 룰러가 빼줬다가 다시 들어가는 장면도 있었는데.
But we had won this jointed fight
칼리스타는 근데
with you and Kalista in the middle of the game, but is Kalista the best duo for Leona?
다 맞는 것 같습니다.
I mean, Kalista is really good for allowing support to go in and survive out. Ruler and Live, you guys are showing your prime, and that's the core power of Gen.G currently.
좀 많이 강한 형이라서
Ruler is really strong in laning phase.
라인전이 강해질 수밖에 없어서
So any support
서폿보다는 재혁이 형이
who
좀 잘해서
plays with
라인전이
Ruler just become a really strong lane support player.
이거 완전 그쵸?
That's a really big praise over to Ruler.
POG 받았을 때
Giving all the credits over to Ruler about the strong laning phase.
재혁이 했던 것 같아. 이상한 애가 막았더라고.
And well, he did say that some of my rune choice was a bit weird.
우리 잘하는 형들이 너무 많아서
And I mean,
그 형들이 받았어.
every teammates are doing such a great work, so I believe all the other teammates also deserve this POG.
그 룰러 선수가 아까 이렇게 막 퍼포먼스 하는 거
After
혹시
the
보셨어요?
game, Ruler actually
퍼포먼스
did some of a ceremonial
아닌데
performance.
못
Did you see
봤는데
that?
혹시 퍼포먼스 했나?
I actually didn't.
팔을 들어가지고.
What was that?
그런 형이 아니에요?
못 봐서
Hands
좀
up in the
아쉽네요.
air.
알겠습니다.
Well, sadly, I missed that.
칼리스타를 따라하더라 그러더라고요.
I think that Ruler actually said that was the impression of Kalista. Your next opponent will be DRX, the #1 team in the LCK, and you lost to DRX in round 1, 2-1.
첫 경기 때 아마 DRX한테 졌던 걸로
I
알고
think we lost to
있는데
DRX the beginning match of the summer split, so we really wanna have a lot of prep for that series and get a win. You'll be facing up against Keria. What's your mindset for the bottom lane competition?
체리아 선수 대회하는 거 계속
Watching Keria
영상
performing
챙겨보면서 많이 분석해서
in competitive matches,
약점 같은 거 찾아봐서
I will analyze his plays, I will find out his weakness, and I will attack those points. Lastly, any message for your fans?
응원해주시는 팬분들 정말 감사하고
Thank you for all your love and support, and keep supporting us. Thank you. And this will be the end of the interview with Life from Gen.G, and I'm gonna pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you, G-Sun, as always, for the wonderful translation there. We got to hear from Life for the first time here in summer. Feels pretty good, as the music tells me no. The music doesn't tell me anything, actually. It's coming right back to us. I thought maybe we'd be looking at the standings. There they are.
Yep.
Right as I said standings, they popped out. That was kind of cool.
Well, the top 3 teams have compiled a decent amount of points in their point differential, so it will really boil down to when they go up against each other, who can come out on top to secure that first spot. And Dynamics unfortunately fell to 8th as they're 1 point below KT, and that was their 3 consecutive L's in the series.
They're carrying a bunch of hot L's right now.
Indeed.
And you can see tomorrow, Friday, it is going to be Sandbox up against DYN Gaming. That's going to be a rough matchup for Yamato and the rest of Sandbox. And then, of course, Odo and Prince up against Afrika will also be interesting. We would favor definitely the right side of these two matchups.
Yeah, and Afrika Freaks, they have to speed up ASAP because two of their competitors just took L's after L's today. So they need to cement as many dubs as possible to get that 5th spot to get into that playoffs. And DYN Gaming, can they continue to demonstrate their high-octane, full-throttle pace games and finish off the series ASAP?
I would assume so, Brian. But thank you, everybody, for watching. We're done now here. We made it through all the issues. I hope LS is okay. Send them your love on Instagram, or not on Instagram, on social media. Also, thank you, Brian, for coming in, of course, and filling in and doing an excellent job.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Maybe we can have you in the future as well. But thank you guys for all your support. We will see you tomorrow for more of the LCK. Have a good night.
World has changed and I am ready to take it on. You told me to be myself and never feel alone. You're all that I want, you're all that I need. If I was ever in the dark,